session. So today we're going to be talking about becoming a parent, disciple in the church. Hello, come on in. Welcome. I didn't know how amazing the organisers of the conference would be, because when I saw that I was on in the morning, I was like, oh, croissants. So there is actually here a basket of croissants. Anyone is hungry. There are some chocolatey ones. For those that don't like chocolate, there are some non-chocolate. And I figured that probably in the room we might have one person gluten-free. So there is one gluten-free item. And if there's more than one gluten-free person in my house. So at any point, feel free to come and get a snack, even though our lovely organisers have preempted me. Make sure that you are satiated. So you'll note that our discussion today is about becoming a parent disciple in church, and that's really like, we use that term intentionally because actually we want it to be like a journey. So we want it to be a journey, and a journey that starts today, looking at this subject, but then also a journey that starts with us. So my name is Lomax, and I'm the Northwest Networker for the Kitchen Table Project. So the Kitchen Table Project is a project all around nurturing faith and parents nurturing faith. So it's a movement of, it's a movement of parents, carers, grandparents, children's workers, ministers, anyone who is, like, the fact that you come to this seminar means that you are passionate about children and young people. So anyone like you. So we'd love you to join us. We're going to cover a few things today. We are going to cover... Hello, welcome. We're going to cover the significant elements that help children to nurture in faith. We're also going to cover empowering parents to nurture that faith at home and within church. And we're going to look at the importance of developing relationships that actually make sense in the way everyone's world works. So I said, I'm Anna, and how would you mind saying who you are and where you're from?
Hi, I'm Hannah. So I'm this colleague, but based in Northamptonshire and I work sort of throughout the Midlands and a bit down south as well. So I'm a kind of covers the top of the country and I cover the bottom, and we've got another colleague that's lives in Wales. So if you are from further down south or you have friends in the churches down south, it'd be great to connect to you guys as well. Thank you.
And like our name, Kitchen Table Project, like it's, you know, like at the kitchen table, well in our house at the kitchen table, sometimes someone is doing their homework if they're up for doing it, and sometimes I'm cooking, and just, you know, just that in the home there's stuff that you do at the kitchen table that you're really excited about, and then there's also stuff that you do at the kitchen table that you're like, I don't want to have this conversation, especially not now. So that's kind of why it's called Kitchen Table, because there's so many opportunities within our homes. It's about a journey, but within. So my role as a networker is to connect with churches and kind of bring the information to you guys, so that churches just like yours, families just like yours, have some of the information that we are privileged to know. Talking of families, this is my family, and I call them the crew, really because sometimes the whole journey of like family life and just life feels like you are on a tumultuous sea. You know, you're all in it together, but you're on this sea, and sometimes it's horrendous at sea, but sometimes it's really cool, and you get to do things that you're like, oh, I was made to do this, and you get times of enjoyment. So I also like to describe my family like a little bit like this. You know, we've all got the same name, Cadbury's, well, Lomax, but actually we're all really different, and I won't tell you, I won't because I'll get in trouble, who the nutty one is in our family, but we do have them. So just amongst yourselves, I'd love you to like just tell the person next to you, and if you're not next to anyone, feel free to like go and be next to someone, like how you would describe your family to someone else. So what does it comprise of? Your household, if you live on your own, but you're part of a family household, what describe it? So I'll give you 2 minutes. When you like talking about like important things like family. So instantly, or you've got a new baby in your church context or home context?
And children.
Oh, and how old or like what age?
They're just over a year old, but still babies and then nappies and things.
So what's the child's name?
There's two of them, two little girls, Sylvia and Callie.
Oh, well, is it all right if I use one of their names for our presentation today?
Yeah.
Wait, you're not allowed to choose because then that would be there. Shall we say Sylvia then?
Yeah.
Don't want to get you in trouble. So if we think of Sylvia, you know, kind of like what a faith journey. You know, like you just said about what's your name?
Glenn.
No, that's my brother's name. You just said like that, and I was like, oh, like just the fact that someone precious and new has come into the context, we all get really excited. And so like on the kind of journey of faith and church culture and everything, I want to just look at what a child's journey can look like. So let's say Sylvia has come into the family, come into the context, everyone's excited, we throw a bit of a party, buy some gifts, and so her first connection of faith is going to be what she sees in the caregivers and grandparents in you know, and so that's her first experience of the Christian faith. And then as she begins to doing stuff, and you know, she's like hitting the twos and stuff, she's then going to be kind of copying everything that she sees. And then we move on to affiliative faith, where she's just doing what everyone else does. And then they get to the stage that they begin searching, asking their own questions, looking at the world that they know. And then hopefully, for all the children in that context, we want them to move on to own faith, where they go, this is exactly who I am and what this is what I believe. That's what we want. And for those in our context who do go that way, then most people take on their faith before the age of 19, and 40% of that before the age of 5. So what we're doing in our context with our toddler groups, what we're doing, like just in everything we're doing, is so important as church, is so worthwhile. So I wanted to say, if you are having to like lug toys around from one room to another on a Sunday, if you're having to like sanitize all these things, every time you've got to like lug that box out of one cupboard and move something and put something else, like thank you, because it makes a really massive difference. So thank you for everything you're doing in your context. But actually that isn't, at the minute when we look at the statistics, so that isn't everyone's journey. And for some that grow up in church, they come into church, they're welcomed, like Sylvia, and everyone's excited, but then when they hit adulthood, they then don't retain that faith. And that's the reason why the Kitchen Table Project was set up. So the project was set up by Care for the Family, that's our wider organisation, and Care for the Family is so thorough that before they do anything, they'll do what the Bible says of like, okay, let's see exactly what we've got, let's work out what we've got. And they did lots of research. So we have, this is like information condensed, so you're very welcome to have this. We've got a couple with us, and there's a couple over at the tasty place that we're having lunch. Can't think what it's called. Yes. Over there. So we've got a few with us, and also this is like we've got this on email. So if you want this email to you, which has all the research, I'm happy to email that. So just on here, if you wanted any information, anything that I talk about today, you can put your name and email address, and like say, oh, do you know, I want that. Like, apart from, like, I'm not going to buy you any new shoes, but anything else, I'm not buying gifts, but anything else, I'll just put your details on that. So you're very next to that. But one of the things, so with the research, we wanted to know, right, where are parents with this 50% statistic? Where are churches? What's being done? What's not being done? Like, let's gather all the information. So we did, and from the information, we were pooling lots of different things. Let me tell you about this first. So actually, from the information, parents were saying, yes, we do know it's really important, but actually, we're struggling, we've not got time, don't really feel very confident, and feel quite inadequate. I think church is best placed to help the children be nurtured in faith. I'm the rubbishest Christian I know, is kind of, well, they probably didn't say exactly like that, but, and also a fear that they didn't want to throw everything on their children, and their children just go, oh, I don't want to know. So, if we have a look at this, this is the breakdown of a child's week, like breakdown of the amount of time that a child will spend. So, from a child who's 0 to 10, in the home with parents or carers or grandparents, they would have 21,900 daytime hours, which is loads. And then if you have a look at this tiny green sliver here, this is the amount that that child, say, so if we're thinking of Sylvia, this is that amount that that child would spend in the church context. So absolutely, parents have got a lot more time. So what we want to do with you guys and helping you guys is actually utilising that green space to empower and support parents so that they feel like, yes, okay, I can do it. I've got some top tips. I can keep going. That's what we want. Sorry, I didn't mean to click then. I was reading and clicking. So one of the things, let's go back. So from the research, we were like, okay, well, if these are the things that are in the way, then we need to get parents to know how to overcome these hurdles, because we can't get rid of them. You can't have any extra time. At breakfast when you're rushing, there isn't any more time, that's why you're rushing. So, but what we can do is we can help parents. We can let them know how to get over these hurdles. And part of the way that we do this is we've got lots of different courses and resources that can fit into your context, like however you choose to use them. So as I'm going along today, I will mention these different resources, because they're not all going to be right for you in your context, but I want you to know of them. And then I won't mention more because we have got quite a few, but we were saying about it being a journey. So for you guys to have the 5-star service today, 5-star, we want to be able to let you go back to your context, think about how it fits with you, and have that opportunity to have a bit of breathing space, and then to be contacted at a later date so that we can answer your specific questions and wrestle with this specifically. So Moses said this, and I'd love us to read it out if you're happy. I love reading scripture, so we'll see if we can all go at the same place. So let's read it together. Fix
these words of mine in your hearts and minds. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Teach them to your children, talking about them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, when you lie down, and when you get up.
When I read that just feels like the whole journey of family life. When you sit at home at breakfast, when you walk along the road to school, or if you go in a car, when as you're doing at bedtime, especially like key stage 1 and 2 children, we're doing all of this. No matter what happened in the pandemic, I know you didn't walk to school, but in the pandemic, parents still had to be doing all of these things and still have these opportunities. So how can we build parents' confidence? Well, we, as church community and as children's workers and family workers, we can let our congregations know that this is important, that actually that time, that 21,900 hours, that's parents' ministry. We as church can give value to it by investing in it. Just like, in Hannah's story, and she was saying about the church got behind, she didn't push it, the children did, and the church got behind them. So what an amazing stance for us as church to say, yes, what is important on your heart is important on ours. And we also want to empower parents, and we can do that through some of our resources. I want to quickly tell you about this one called Inspire. And so this is a session. You can either run it over 60 minutes, or you can run it over 90 minutes and split it as 2 sessions. But in this session, we actually help parents to think about their why. Why is it important for them to nurture faith at home, and why is it important for their children to have that experience as well? So those are available. I've got some of those with us as well, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that after as well. Us as church, we can help parents by removing that sense of like expert culture. Like today when we were blowing up the balloons, I was like, oh, like for some of us that's all right. We're quite used to that. But for you guys as children's workers, some of you as children's workers, you're used to doing lots of different things. But actually sometimes parents are not used to that, but with some of the resources that we've got, it just encourages them. We can dispel that guilt. So when we looked at the research, and especially like through the pandemic, so we've actually got this booklet, and Hannah's got some of these, so she'll hand them out. During the pandemic, some parents were actually felt like, oh, I've lost my community, and everything about faith is on me. So we've covered that in there, and actually we're just going to look at this next little bit, which is thinking about the parents that we want to connect with, the parents in your context. So if you look on page 6 and 7, and just so feel free to write in it. We're just going to have just a minute thinking of the parents that we want to connect with in our communities. So I want to tell you about this lady that I wanted to connect with in our community. So she, as I was reflecting on our relationship now, it's the little things that made a massive difference. So I have to tell you this, but she's now not with us. But I hadn't realised when we swapped phone numbers, I hadn't realised how much she would impact me and how fond of her I would become. And it wasn't so I knew her in the church context, and in the big context I'd see her, but actually when she invited me to her house and when I went to her home, that's when I actually got to know her. When we went at most parents would not organise this sort of time because it meant that we were meeting over lunch and we didn't have lunch with us. So it was an impromptu lunch where she ended up making her favourite meal, scrambled egg and mushrooms. And then I got to hear the story of her dad saying, oh, do you know, I love when you make this meal. You always make it and it's amazing. It's where we walked down to a park near her house and I didn't even know the park existed. It's the little things that I recall now, not the big grand gestures. And so today, actually, because I've been thinking about her, wearing this pin because she bought this for me, and I would say she had so many adversities, but she was so resilient to just keep going and keep on going and doing the right thing. But I only knew that out of that church context. So I'm just going to give you a minute to talk with the person next to you and think about, right, well, who are the parents that I actually have on my heart? You know, who are the ones that are on my heart? So if you just have a minute to think about that. Okay, I'm going to invite you to 12 minutes, like some I want to tell you a little bit about Inspire, and I'm really excited. I know people always say I'm really excited, but I genuinely am excited about Inspire because it's done in such. I love it for these two reasons, because it's easy and fun and it makes sense. One of the things we do on this Inspire session is you get parents together and they get to discuss a few things. They get to talk about, like you did at the start, like the families and the kind of the breakdown of that. And as parents, they also kind of bond over it because they realise, my kids do crazy things too, hooray! I am not alone. And one of the key things that we teach on Inspire is the 5 things that build faith. So with all the research that's been done, there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees. I really wish there was, but there aren't. But actually, they've looked at families where children have taken on the faith of their caregivers and their wider community, and these 5 things are always present. So we're actually saying, what about if we look at what the research says and let it frame how we do particular things? So one of the first things is home, having a home where children feel safe, warm and affirmed. My daughter said this week she went to a first session of the year 5s and 6s as they transition. They're trying to do something with youth and saying we don't want them to just get their high school places and then not come. So we want to integrate them into church as soon as possible, create their own their own sense of belonging and culture. So she went to her very first session last week. She went to the very first one of that, and her church best friend wasn't going to be coming, and she knew that. And so we're driving in the car, and she was like, "Oh no, she's not going to be there." And then you could see her light up. She was like, "Oh," I won't tell you actually the circus name, but she was like, "Oh, the children's worker's there." She says, "Do you know what?" She said, "It's going to be all right because whenever she makes you feel at home." And I just thought, as I dropped her off and stuff, I was like, oh, what an amazing privilege we have as church, that actually just the thought of our children's worker made her calm down. And we have that opportunity in church and in our homes to create a space where our children feel at home, nurtured and welcome. Being real. So it's not about parents knowing it all, knowing the start of Deuteronomy to the end, or in Leviticus, all the blessings and the curses. It's actually just about living your faith out in front of your children. So not hiding prayer and stuff in the corner, but actually just living it out in front of them. Being intentional. So some of the things, so all our resources fit into these 5 categories. So one of our resources that I'd like to tell you about on being intentional is this one called Signs of Life. So I can email you this, and it's all about this is based on Psalms 100, looking up. So for parents in Inspire, we might let them know, do you know what, if you plan to go to the park with these other families, leave 5 minutes earlier, and as you're walking, just spend time looking at what God's created. And so it's the PDF, it tells you loads of different things. I've put it really simply. But it's that parents doing stuff with their children, going, okay, intentionally I'm going to leave 5 minutes earlier. It could be, so for some families, they may have time to have breakfast all together, and some families might not, shifts and way of life. So it might be that you're once a month I have the opportunity on a Saturday, and we could all have a meal together, and after it we could do a devotional, or we could sometimes our family, when it's a calm moment, we'll write down things and then we'll stick them in a jar, and then after dinner we'll then pull something out. So it could be stick a tenner in the jar, and we'll go and find someone to bless. It could be praying for someone that has recently lost someone. So that's the sort of things that we pull out from Inspire. And with a lot of our resources that are free, we really want it to be that church budget, family budget, doesn't encroach on nurturing faith. With being intentional, I remember the first time that I went out the house with a small bag, because up to that point, when my kids were small, there'd be so many things in my bag. There'd be some socks, there'd be some colouring, when they were smaller there'd be a change of nappy, there'd be a change of clothes. The wasting of mine used to fill the nappies. So there'd be a whole host of things, and it wasn't that I knew we'd be using those, it's just actually, do you know what, if at all we need them, then they're there. And so parents have that amazing opportunity in Inspire. On Inspire, we also talk about what builds, we also talk about prayer, and as a team we've got our YouTube channel and our Facebook, And on our YouTube channel, it has lots of helpful videos on different subjects. So it breaks down all of these, and parents can just access that. You can point parents towards it, and they can look at things to do with prayer. So there's one where Pete Gregg talked about like how he prays for his kids, and also like he said about spending time just asking God, right, God, what is it you've got for my children? So on Inspire, parents get that opportunity to think about, right, okay, well, what is it like? How can I help nurture their faith in prayer? How can I teach them things of prayer? So also in Inspire, we have like some ideas and some tips. Like we've got like a game which tells you how you can do this game to help your kids pray. It includes sweets. So my children loved it. They still love it. Do you remember? So just in summary, parents are positioned for influence, but they do have hurdles to overcome. The church is positioned to build parents' confidence and help them overcome hurdles. And there are lots of different ways we can start empowering parents. You know, I said about Inspire and why I love it. And we've just covered these 5 things about like building faith and nurturing faith. And I love Inspire because I've seen how Inspire can impact parents. Half take the load off and then give them that impetus to go, I can do this. This is not rocket science. I can absolutely do this. But I want to just tell you a story about someone, because we've looked at all the theory of the 5 things that build faith, but this is someone that I have seen this in. I've said over my dad, and I know the context that she's grown up in. So I'm going to start the story over here, which is the end of the story. So she's in her 30s. She is vibrant, gregarious, lovely. In a work context, she now works with children who some people would find quite difficult to work with, and for her it's a breeze. And when I think of her, I think going above and beyond, because she'll always be posting going, has anyone got this? Because I need this for school. Has anyone got this? I need this. She gives 110%. She's in the church context. She has set up ministries where she was like, there's a gap there. I think I could fill it, and she's done it. You know, if anyone needs, if you know she's involved, you know that it'll be done thorough. So that's her now. But when I first met her, it was years ago. It was a very different story. So the church I was in had a drive for volunteers and wanting to get people involved. So they had a brilliant idea of let's have some praise and worship nights. We have a bit of praise and worship, a snack, and then send people off into streams on different subjects. So the stream that I went to, because I didn't want to go to any of the streams, was children and young people and a heart for children and young people. So having gone to that stream, it was only on for like 2 weeks they did the streams, so different people came in to give advice and information. So having gone to that stream, I was then accosted on the Sunday morning in church by the lady who run that stream, saying, because you went to that stream all about children and young people, I'd love it if you'd like to join our team for our... So I don't know if... Have any of you heard of campaigners?
Yeah.
So campaigners is like scouts, is that fair to say? It's like scouts. So you've got like a leader, and who you call chief, and like they work towards badges and stuff, and it's got a big Christian emphasis. So I was like, oh yeah, I've done children's stuff before, that's fine. But it felt like a trial by fire. And I'm not even ashamed to say that once I was driving home, crying, I don't know what to do with these kids. I just absolutely don't know. So that's where I first met her. And so, because I knew I was doing this, I phoned her and I said, I want to show people I know the theory, because that's what we're doing, but I think that in you I've seen this practiced out. And I said, what are the things that kept you in your faith? And then she said a lot of the things that I expected. So she said, it was a privilege to be in a Christian family, my parents were brilliant. She said all of that, but then she said something that I absolutely didn't expect and I didn't know. And because she's grown in church community and she's ended up working at one point with the chief who used to organise everything. Another thing that she does is she organises a children's holiday away, and so it encompasses children from church and children not from church. She'll organise that all the time. So she was on team with Chief, and because they get on now, she was like, it always seemed like we didn't seem to see eye to eye, and you picked on me. And Chief, I won't say Chief's name, but Chief said, she said, it's not that. She said, I absolutely knew that God had something so special for you, and I was determined to not give up. I was determined to never give up on you. And I just thought, oh, how amazing, you know, like for us, we have the opportunity that what's in front of us isn't the end game. We're doing every day, like the daily stuff, we're doing the long game. So I'm just going to play this. This is the very lovely lady.
Something which has kept my faith from when I was a child to now as an adult is always being surrounded by people of influence. People of influence in the right way. In society a lot nowadays we're always influenced by the wrong people or influenced by people who will take us down a different path. But something that in my life I've always felt that I've had a great support network around me. And these people have come into my life, and they may have gone. They may have been there just for a few years of my life. But I've always felt that I've had people around me who have influenced me in the right way. People who have influenced me in a godly way. And maybe at the time when I was 12, 13, 18 years old, I didn't realise this. But actually looking back now, I have seen what a privilege it was to have those people in my life who have always guided me and supported me through growing up and on my journey with God. And these have been people who not only have encouraged me, these have also been people who maybe have pulled me up and told me when I've maybe done something wrong, or I'm doing something which I shouldn't be doing as a Christian, as a follower of Christ. But these are people who I trust, and over the years I've listened to, and now obviously looking back, I've seen that they have my best interests at heart. So that's one thing that I've always felt, that I've been surrounded by the right people influencing me in a godly way. And also, only the last maybe 2-3 years, I've realised what a massive privilege it was to grow up in a Christian household, to grow up with a mum and dad showing those godly principles and those biblical principles on a day-to-day basis, not just at church on a Sunday, putting on maybe a show that we're the ideal family, but actually every day showing those godly principles. And that has been a massive privilege, and like I said, only just realising as an adult, looking back on my childhood, looking back at my teenage years, what a massive privilege it was. So even those short conversations on a car journey home, or those questions over tea time, just different things like that have always been godly. So never underestimate those little conversations what you have, because I've had a lot of little conversations like that which have moulded me and shaped me into the person that I am today. So 2 things what I think have really helped me just to keep my faith from when I was a child, through my teenage years, 20s and now 30s, has been surrounded by people who have influenced me in the right way and have got my best interests at heart. And having grown up in a Christian household and realised what a massive privilege it was to have that.
So we've covered the 5 things that build faith. So with your new best friend partner next to you, I'd like to just say which thing impacted you the most on those what builds faith and why. So please do carry these conversations conversations on, like during the break. Like exchange numbers, I feel terrible. Breaking good communication. I'm going to finish by telling you about what two mums did. Two mums that did inspire. This is what John Wesley said. He said, I learned more about Christianity from my mother than all the religions in England. So, two mums did inspire. It was during the lockdown, so you know I said I love Inspire, and it's because it gives people permission to release their creativity and do what they know about their children. So we have another resource as a PDF that we have on our website, so I'm happy to email you. There's two resources actually that I just want to link together, and that's how parents and you in your context can use it. So we've got the 5 love languages. One of the team's gone through and saying, if your child's love language is like this, then this is a way that you can help nurture their faith. And then a lot of the team have worked together and actually done what we've called ages and stages, and it looks at at what age you can do different things and what's going on developmentally in the child, and then what we can do around it. So that's as a PDF, so I'm happy to email it. I've printed it off so you can have a little look, but I'm happy to email that to you. So if we look at what these two mums did based on this. So during the lockdown, one of the girls, their love language is like gifts, and they were absolutely missing everybody and everything. So this mum, because these two mums did inspire during the lockdown, and one of them found that actually that the reason they wanted their child to have a faith that lasts was because they realised how important faith had been and how important actually good relationships at church had been. And the other mum had realised that actually their why was that they wanted at any point when they couldn't help their child, they wanted their child to know God is here and He's on my side. So one mum decided to do an online sleepover. So creating little gift packs for some girls. Some of the girls knew each other, some of them didn't. So the girls at this age, so if we look at our ages and stages, the girls were this age. So they were realising that actually not everybody in the world thinks like them, and not everybody has a faith, but they knew that they were being connected in this online sleepover because they all shared their Christian faith. And so the parent was trying to create a sense of belonging for that child and meeting that child's love need. So at the time, they did a sleepover with those little gift bags, and the only thing of faith in the gift bag was this story. So, it's by Lucy Rycroft. She's got a new one coming out in July. But it was just this story. That was the only thing of faith. Everything else was bingo, sweets, mask, and stuff, and a game. That's the only thing of faith that they put in. The girls organically at the end said, can we actually pray together? And they did. So I don't want to be genderist, I think that's the word. So it doesn't matter what you put in, it could be something that's free or not free, that's another thing. Or if you've got boys, then something like that might work. So the other mother, months later, so now these girls are now this age. And actually this other mother decided to do a life group. So there's more girls now. So there's about 9 girls in this life group. And because this mother realised how important for her it was that there was a sense of community. So now these girls are from 5 different churches. They are cross-denominational. They are meeting and connecting. So for these girls, it's that whole sense of how everyone around them and how that works. So they're in such a safe space, because the mother's trusted, they're in a safe space to explore their faith. And that's not been done by the church, that's just been done by, not just, but that's been done by a mum who has been impacted by Inspire and what it meant for them. So, because we often talk at the Christian Project about helping parents to take the lead can see that on that one. You know, helping parents to take the lead. So we talked about mums, a quick thing for dads, and then I will release you. Oh, I mean this is for both gentlemen, but this is our Raising Faith book. So this is like, they're only tiny articles, they're magazine style. And then I was at a seminar and someone asked a question saying, you know, like, yeah, this is all good and well, but what about my parents that have not come back since the pandemic? What about my parents that I don't know where they are? I don't know if they are. I don't know if gymnastics is just more important or something's happened. And I said, well, what about if you... So these are like £5, or like if you buy 20 or 40, they're like £2.50. But I said, oh, what about if you said to the parents in your context, you know, we've been thinking of, and genuinely do pray for you, but we've been thinking about you guys and praying for you and knowing that the pandemic has been hard for kids, hard for parents, hard for us as children's and families workers, but we just like to say we're thinking of you and give them this gift. So it's something that they can look at and just think, oh, do you know what? The church is on our side. So that's that. But for the dads, Andy Frost has it's not there. I'm saying it's not there, like I've not put it there. I've not put it there, but Andy Frost has done a book called 52 Faith Adventures for Dads, and it's such an easy, helpful book. I wanted to show you. If you come to the stand, we've definitely got one there, and it's got a breakdown. You know, we're good at like organising and know how long things take and what we need, but Andy's done it, so it's got a breakdown to say, this is the age level this activity is for, this is how long it is, these are the things you absolutely need. And it goes through, like, I was going to read you a bit of it, it goes through a little bit of what things you can bring in and what scriptures, and there's 52, so dads, granddads, uncles can engage with the children on that whole area of faith. I'm really sorry, we are going to have to stop. But like I said, there is loads to talk about, so please do put your details. I will drop you an email, and like if you are in Sheffield, I will come up, and if you just want an email or a Zoom with Hannah, then let us know. But I do know that sometimes in church context, it's hard to just get time to prep and plan, but I'm happy to come for the hour so no one interrupts you and we can have a look at this discussion. So thank you so much. I'm sorry it's been a bit of a rush, but thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.